this ship's gonna sink, but it's not sinking yet. It's still moving forward. We are expecting a run, like another run up. Our my risk model, which is looking at drops in liquidity. Generally, as you run into the tail end, maybe 3, even 6 months before the top, you see that risk climbing. It's like early warning signal we're late phase. We are in late phase. In the 2021, it sort of kicked in, I believe, once we hit $40,000 and it ran up to 60 until it dropped and then it went up again to 70 and then it blew out.
This market analysis highlights a major update from Willy, who shares his latest insights on the Bitcoin market. In a recent interview on the New Era Finance podcast, he discusses his updated outlook for the current Bitcoin cycle top, when we might see the next bear market, and the potential for an altcoin season. Let's take a look at his analysis.
What's your outlook for Bitcoin?
I think we're still on a 4-year cycle, but they're less exaggerated because global liquidity is kind of 4 years-ish. So now the halvening is kind of out, but global macro is 4 years, a little bit less precise. I expect another bear market. I don't think it's going to be bad as like 85% drawdown of the last one, just because there wasn't so much crap and toxicity in the system. But there's still a lot of crap in the system. We talked about the Bitcoin treasury companies. If MicroStrategy blew up, sure, that could that'd be pretty bad. I don't think that's going to blow up, but some of the smaller ones might. And then also we've got so much institutional demand coming in and sovereign demand, so I think that'll buffer it. And so maybe Bitcoiners will shrug it off. So that's not a cycle. Haha, that's it's a mini cycle, and and so it becomes more of a sort of random walk. Or like if you look at the S&P 500 and you zoom out from it, it's actually just a straight line up with chops. And the big bear markets, it might be 30%, but it looks huge, but actually it's not that bad. So maybe it becomes more of that. I kind of feel like it's debatable. With this next bear market, we'll get a pullback and it'll look like a 4-year thing. The one after that might be a little bit better, like harder to find like a traditional, blood on the streets bear market.
When are we going to see alt season?
Oh, you bear in mind I do the Bitcoin vector.
Yeah, that's
but
what.
that is actually this is kind of the canary in the coal mine on where we are in the cycle. That it is actually Ethereum, because we certainly in Bitcoin, okay, Bitcoin has not done its bull run yet. If you look at historical patterns, you kind of wind up and you really go for it, and the capital in is not really going for it. And maybe we don't get it because this is like institutions and they don't FOMO in, right? But when we look at Ethereum, that's looking strong, and usually that is a sign of strength in the market. No one buys Ethereum, no one believes there's strength in the market. So we are picking up strength there. That's therefore meaning there's probably flows out of Bitcoin into Ethereum, and Ethereum that makes another leg up. That's more of a signature of we're really into a proper bull phase. If that's supported by Bitcoin going up and capital is really flowing in. We've entered the late phase of a bull market. Early phases, we have very strong liquidity. That liquidity is starting to dry up, but that's also when you see crazy moves upwards. We are expecting a run, like another run up. My risk model, which is looking at drops in liquidity. Generally, as you run into the tail end, maybe 3, even 6 months before the top, you see that risk climbing. It's like early warning signal we're late phase. We are in late phase. This is in 2017. That's kind of like Bitcoin at 5,000 before it ran to 20,000. It's also last cycle in the 2021. It sort of kicked in, I believe, once we hit $40,000 and it ran up to 60. And then it screamed risk on until it dropped, and then it went up again to 70, and then it blew out. and it was high risk all the way down to 16,000 before it dropped up to low risk again. It's like it's kind of the most lucrative time, and it's also playing chicken with freight train. Yeah, if you want to time the top, but I would say internally within Swiss block, within the macro signals, as Henrik would say, he's the global macro economist inside Swiss block, is that recession signal is fired. The Titanic's gonna hit the iceberg. In fact, it has hit the iceberg. It's a big ship. It's a super tanker. Nothing moves quickly. The ship's gonna sink, but it's not sinking yet. It's still moving forward, and the timing signature hasn't fired yet. So certainly, global macro sees strength in equities, strength in the market still. Probably another up leg. Bitcoin will probably fire. Altcoins will fire. Ethereum will fire. We'll get that rotation, and then we're in for a bear market afterwards. So it's imminent. Timing wise, well, we've got to wait for the timing signals to fire. We're putting together like long-term studies of liquidity flows across all of these markets, from global macro through to the Bitcoin, which is the base of the framework which drives all the altcoin markets. And we're looking at liquidity flows from Bitcoin into alts. When is alt season happening? We can tell that from the microstructure to the macro structure of these markets. So we're measuring volatility, and we're picking up on definitions. We have multiple definitions of what liquidity is. And from that, we bring it all together. So it's like I can, for example, my work, I can absolutely tell you what liquidity is in the Bitcoin lens. I see liquidity as like capital flowing into the network, and also picking up of the structure of the price action. How is that, like liquidity is like, is the downside muted because the flow of capital, and is the price action muting downside volatility? That means that's capital coming in.
Bitcoin is seeing a strong rebound today after a sharp period of selling over the last couple of days that saw its price drop significantly. The recent decline was largely driven by a general move away from risky assets across global markets, primarily due to concerns about central banks potentially tightening monetary policy. This caused a big shakeout of leveraged trading positions. However, the mood has shifted for now, with strong buying interest pushing the price back up. Wall Street institutions are reportedly deepening their involvement with digital assets, which is adding positive momentum. The market is currently showing resilience and strength, attempting to reclaim key price levels lost in the recent dip. Wish someone taught you Bitcoin earlier? Now's your chance to do better for your kids or young family. This teen ebook is perfect. Link in the description.